Good evening. Deccan Herald and Prajavani presents Clean Bengaluru. Good evening. Deccan Herald and Prajavani presents Clean Bengaluru, an initiative to create awareness and gather citizens' feedback on solid waste management problems in the city. Join our initiative to keep the city clean and garbage free. This session will be moderated by Mr. SRINIVAS, and the topic for today's session is Triad of Solid Waste Management. SRINIVAS is a citizen activist based in Bengaluru. He is also the co-founder of Citizens for Bengaluru and presently heads the Civic participation wing of Janaagraha. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sneha. Ellargu namaskara. Good afternoon, Mr. Gupta. Ratna avare namaskara. WILMA avare namaskara. Good afternoon, Sandhya. As we begin, I would, on behalf of Deccan Herald and Prajavani, I welcome all of you. The Triad of Solid Waste Management. Triad of Solid Waste Management andre enu. Idu ಬಗ್ಗೆ 2 ನಿಮಿಷ ನಿಮಗೆ ಒಂದು BBMP Solid Waste Management ಬಗ್ಗೆ summary ಆಗಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ facts and figures ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡೋಣ. Solid waste management ನಲ್ಲಿ main 3 different parts ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Segregation, waste segregation, ಆಮೇಲೆ collection of waste from the households and from commercial establishments, and finally processing. ಸಂಸ್ಕರಣೆ. If we do all these 3 things correctly, then our city would have solved the problem of solid waste management. BBMP has been working on this for many years, and many of you are familiar with it and work on different parts of it. Some of you work on all parts of it. Today in this discussion, we will understand how things are going in each of these parts. We try to have a discussion around these 3 different areas of solid waste management. A quick look at our city. Bengaluru Nagara, Dodda Nagara, very big city, 1.2 crore population, 1.3 crore population. We have 27 divisions, 198 wards, 18,500 Porakarmika idare. So, Doddu city, a very, very big city that we have. So, the solid waste management problem is very big because of the number of people that live here. Sumaru 29 lakh households, 29 lakh homes are in Bengaluru. So, this is a huge challenge for any city to manage the waste generated by this many number of people. To solve this problem, BBMP over the years have created 7 wet waste processing plants, 13 biomethanation plants, and there is 1 sanitary landfill. Landfills used to be very common earlier. Landfills are close agide, but we have 1 sanitary landfill. And this is the new way of doing solid waste management. Today's discussion, we will get information from the BBMP officials that are here on how things are going in terms of processing of the solid waste that we produce in this city. Something that we all should keep in mind as we begin this discussion. One of the largest cities in the world, Bengaluru, produces 2,600 tons of wet waste every day, 800 tons of dry waste. To collect all of this, we have 5,500 autos, 600 compactors from these 29 lakh households. A lot of people do not understand this very well, but out of all the waste that is produced, only 58% is produced by the homes, by people. The rest is produced by the commercial restaurants, business entities, wedding halls, all the other people, other entities that are not individual homes. This number is something that we've collected. I'm not 100% sure if it's correct, and I'm sure the BBMP officials will help us get their numbers. But sadly, only 36% of the waste is being segregated at source. Segregation is the single most important aspect of waste management in this city. But as of now, as per the data that we've collected, only 36% of waste is being segregated at source. So we have to look at how this can be improved upon in this session. Bengaluru 18,500 power karmikiದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇವರು ತುಂಬಾ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. Porakarmikas are the lifeline of solid waste management of Bengaluru. And on this occasion, I would like to say that ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ ನಾಗರಿಕರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಲಾಕ್ಡೌನ್ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಮಾಡಿದ ಧೈರ್ಯದ ಕೆಲಸಕ್ಕಾಗಿ BBMP ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಪೌರಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರಿಗಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಹೇಳಲು ಬಯಸುತ್ತೇನೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೋವಿಡ್ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ಹೋರಾಡುವಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಪಾತ್ರವನ್ನು ವಹಿಸುತ್ತೀರಿ. ರತ್ನಾ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆನ್ ಬಿಹಾಫ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿಯನ್ಸ್, ವಿ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ದ 18,500 Porakarmikas for their relentless work, especially during the COVID. We will hear from Ratna also today. 1,000 crores, this number also is, sometimes it is 1,100, sometimes 1,200, but 1,000 crores is spent every single year by BBMP for solid waste management. A lot of money is spent on managing this effort in terms of paying salaries, and money spent on transporting this collection after the waste is collected from the households. Per capita waste generation is 309 grams per house that we are producing as of today. Over the years, Deccan Herald and Prajavani have been covering solid waste management extensively. You will see headlines almost on a daily or weekly basis. Here are some big headlines from Deccan Herald and Prajavani just in the last 1 or 2 months that we collected. Finally, today I would like to get the insight from the Chief Commissioner of BBMP and the Special Commissioner on decentralized waste management. Can Bengaluru move towards a more decentralized model of waste management at a ward level? This is what we want to do going forward. So at this point, let me introduce my guests that have joined us here. So it's my honor and pleasure to invite Mr. GAURAV Gupta. Thank you for being here, sir. Mr. GAURAV Gupta is the Chief Commissioner of BBMP.
Recording in progress.
1990 batch. And he was an electrical engineer from IIT Kanpur and also an MTech degree from IIT Delhi. In Government of Karnataka, he has held various positions across different departments from the year 1992, and is especially known for his work in the Commerce and Industries Department, IT and BT Department. Karnataka Sarkarada Mahatwakankshi Yojaneyada Invest Karnataka Karikramada Pramukha Ruvari GAURAV Gupta andre, it's your pleasure. Thank you, sir, for being here. We look forward to having this conversation with you. ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ರತ್ನಾ ಅವರಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ರತ್ನಾ ಅವರು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಮಹಾನಗರ ಪಾಲಿಕೆ ಪೌರ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರ ಸಂಘದ ಪದಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳಿರುವ ರತ್ನಾ ಅವರು. ಶಿ ಇಸ್ ದ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಬೇರರ್ ಆಫ್ BBMP ಪೌರ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕ ಸಂಘ. ರತ್ನಾ ಅವರು KR ಪುರಂನಲ್ಲಿ ಪೌರ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರಾಗಿ ಸೇವೆ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಶಿ ಇಸ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ KR ಪುರಂ ಆಸ್ ಅ ಪೌರ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕ ಕರೆಂಟ್ಲಿ. ಅವರು ಪೌರ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರ ಶ್ರೇಯಾಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಯು ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆದ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಹೋರಾಟಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮಂಚೂಣಿಯಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಪೌರ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರ ಶೋಷಣೆ, ಗುತ್ತಿಗೆ ಪದ್ಧತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಭ್ರಷ್ಟಾಚಾರ ನಿರ್ಮೂಲನ, ವೇತನದ ಬೇಡಿಗಳು, ಪೌರ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರ ಎದುರಿಸುತ್ತಿರುವ ಲೈಂಗಿಕ ಕಿರುಕುಳ, ಪೌರ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರ ಅಗತ್ಯ ಮೂಲ ಸೌಕರ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಕಲ್ಪಿಸುವುದು ಸೇರಿದಂತ ಪೌರ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರ ಸರ್ವತೋಮುಖ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಸಂಬಂಧಿತ ಹೋರಾಟಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ರತ್ನಾ ಅವರು ಗುರುತರ ಪಾತ್ರ ವಹಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. But Ratna has been at the forefront of various struggles for dignified working conditions for Porakarmikas. This includes various struggles that led to abolition of exploitative and corrupt systems, demands for living wages, against sexual harassment faced by Porakarmikas, and provision of basic facilities for Porakarmikas. So Ratna will be sharing her views on improving the solid waste management in our city. I welcome Mr. SAFRARAZ Khan. Mr. SAFRARAZ Khan is currently the Joint Commissioner of Solid Waste Management in BBMP. It won't be an exaggeration to say everybody associates solid waste management with him. Mr. Khan has been working on this for several years and introduced many reforms to improve the process of solid waste management in our city. Mr. Khan joined the government service over 2 decades ago and held various positions in different departments of state government. He's previously also worked as municipal commissioner in many cities of Karnataka and is also served to many various state department ministries in the past. Welcome, Mr. SAFRARAZ Khan. Thank you for being here. I now introduce WILMA. WILMA RODRIGUES is the founder and CEO of Saahas, Zero Waste, a social enterprise committed to implementing holistic zero waste solutions across India. WILMA moved to Bengaluru from Mumbai in 1995. She was a former journalist with the Times of India Group and other magazines. And when India got the first municipal solid waste rules in the year 2000, it triggered WILMA to get into the waste management sector to support implementation of the waste management rules. She's first set up the NGO Saahas in the year 2001, which later became a business model called Saahas Zero Waste in 2013, and WILMA works with the BBMP extensively. And last but not the least, we have SANDYA Narayan, a familiar name for those of us that follow solid waste management in Bengaluru. SANDYA has earlier worked as a finance professional for almost 2 decades, and now has been working for quite some time on as a member of the Solid Waste Management Roundtable. SANDYA ಅವರು SWMRT and Samsthanu, 13 years ನಿಂದ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. She is an analyst and expert on economy of waste. She's been very involved in local groups at a ward level, working with the local communities, elected representatives, and BBMP on creating sustainable waste management rules. Thank you very much, SANDYA, for being here. The format of this program is as follows. We'll just hear opening statements from each of our esteemed guests today. I will call upon their names and they can take 2 minutes each to share their views on solid waste management and what is working, what can be better, how citizens can help, and whatever they would like to present to this particular audience that is currently following this program online and live on Prajavani and Deccan Herald, social media, and various other online sources. After that, we will have a discussion about 20 to 30 minutes where I will be asking a few questions to each of these panelists. During that time, the audience will also be requested to give their questions in the chat window. After that, the next segment would be the audience interaction. So that is the format of this program. I welcome you all once again. And let me now invite BBMP Chief Commissioner, Mr. GAURAV GUPTA, to share his views on solid waste management in Bengaluru. Sir?
Yes, please. Am I audible? I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful. Good afternoon, all. It's always a pleasure to share the dais, even though virtually, with all the esteemed participants here. Thank you for the kind introduction, SRINIVAS, and also welcome SANDYA and RATNA and all others, SAFRARAZ, and all others for this program. So I'm sure that today's program would be greatly helpful in ensuring participation of all citizens and people from all walks of life in this important task of waste handling and management. I'm sure that all of us think that it is easy. You can throw just the waste away and it goes away. But there is nothing called throwing a waste away because it goes and lies somewhere else. And the end result of all waste has to be either it has to be composted or it basically disintegrates if it is a wet or compostable waste, or else it has to get into something called recyclable waste. Recyclable waste could be wood, it could be steel, it could be glass, it could be something else, which basically goes into the issue of recycling. So primarily we have something called recyclable waste, and then there is something called compostable waste. And from the compostable waste, again, you can get into something called compost, which is again a fertilizer for the crops, and that also is useful and product by itself. So overall speaking, the economy of managing the waste is something called circular economy. And worldwide, this is a very important task. We have been interacting with a number of cities across the world. And, like we were talking to the city of Melbourne, and what they talked about was that there is almost 80% of waste is being recycled. So recycled or reused or something like that. So likewise, we need to do it even more. Now, we have to basically, if we are doing the recycling, and we have to do it is mandated in the solid waste management rules enunciated by the government of India, that we should segregate waste. So there is segregation of waste which is required to be done at source, basically at where it emanates. And that segregation of waste into something called wet waste and dry waste has to be done. For separation, nothing much is required. It's basic education, and so many people have been working with us. Citizen groups, volunteers, experts who have been working with us from various walks of life. Some of you are present here. Some of you have been associated with us, but you may not have been there in this particular seminar or webinar. So what is important is that there should be active citizen participation. And this citizen participation basically helps in segregation. It also helps in supervising, say, for example, the pickup from the houses. And also it, I would say, Nama Nadwe, Nama Porakarmika Sangha Mukadi Padadikarigalidare, RATNA Anteli, Nanu Kannadalli Matartini, SRINIVAS, Kannadalli Matarbodalva. ನಾನು ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವ್ರು, ಐ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ದ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ಬೋತ್, ಬಟ್ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವರಿಗೆ ಕೂಡ ಯಾರ್ಯಾರು ನಮ್ಮ ರಸ್ತೆಯನ್ನು ಸ್ವಚ್ಛವಾಗಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಪರಿಚಯ ಇರಬೇಕು. ನಾನು ಕೆಲವು ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಹಿಂದೆ ಬರ್ಕ್ಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದೆ, 2 ವಾರ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರು ತಮ್ಮ ಬಸ್ ಡ್ರೈವರ್ ಯಾರಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಆ ಬಸ್ ಡ್ರೈವರ್ ಹೆಸರನ್ನು ಗುರುತಿಸಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ದಿನನಿತ್ಯ ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಟಾಮ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಟಾಮ್ ವಾಸ್ ದ ನೇಮ್. ಸೊ ಇದೇ ತರದ್ದು ಒಂದು ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ರಸ್ತೆ ಸ್ವಚ್ಛ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾರು ಪಿಕಪ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವರುಗಳನ್ನು ಗುರುತುಪಡಿಸಿ, ಅಟ್ ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಕೆಲವರು, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಆದ್ರೆ ಅವರ ಗುರುತುಪಡಿಸಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಡಿಗ್ನಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಲೇಬರ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಅವರಿಗೆ ರಿಕಗ್ನೈಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ ಈ ತರದ್ದು ಮಾಡಿದರೆ it will be good, because then we associate them as doing the work for us. ಅವ್ರು ನಮ್ಗಾಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಭಾವನೆ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಮತ್ತು ಅವರು ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಡಿಗ್ನಿಫೈಡ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಇರಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರು ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಟ್ಟಿ ಬೆಳೆದವರಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಈ ವಿಷಯ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಾನೆ ನಾನು ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ. Because Bangalore has been a beacon of number of good practices on waste management. I remember ಇದು ನನಗೆ 3ನೇ ಅಥವಾ 4ನೇ ಸರ್ತಿ ನಾನು ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್ ಮಹಾನಗರದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ನಾನು 94 ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರುವಾಗ ಬಹುಶಃ ಇದು ಸಣ್ಣ ನಗರವಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಇರ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಆಗ ಕಂಪೋಸ್ಟ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಷನ್ ಆಗ್ಲೂ ಇತ್ತು, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಪರಪ ನಗರ ಹತ್ರ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಹೋಗ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಕ್ರಮೇಣ ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಕೂಡ ಅದಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಕಂಪೋಸ್ಟ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಷನ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದೆ ಆವಾಗ. ತದನಂತರ 2005ರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಪುನಃ ಬಂದವಾಗ ನಗರ ಬಹಳ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಗಿ ಬೆಳೀತು. ತದನಂತರ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಟು ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಅಂಡ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಅದರ್ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ಸ್ ಎಟ್ಸೆಟ್ರಾ ದಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್. ಬಹುಶಃ ಶ್ರೀನಿವಾಸ್ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಬಹಳ ವ್ಯಾಪಕವಾಗಿ, ಬಹಳ ಕಾಂಪ್ರಿಹೆನ್ಸಿವ್ ಆಗಿ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದ ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಇಸ್ ದಟ್ ಆಸ್ ದ ಸಿಟಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಗ್ರೋನ್, so has the problem of waste. And so as the transportation distances also, that has also grown. So 94 ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಪವರ್ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರು ಯಾರು ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮದೇ ಆದ ಪವರ್ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರುಗಳು ಇದ್ರು. ತದನಂತರ 2005 ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರುವಾಗ ಅರ್ಧದಷ್ಟು ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವ್ರು ಬಂದ್ರು. ಈಗ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಪೀಪಲ್ that are working for ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್ ಮಹಾನಗರ ಪಾಲಿಕೆ ಆರ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ವರ್ಕರ್ಸ್. ಆ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ವರ್ಕರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಸಮಯಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಳ ಸಿಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಉದ್ದೇಶದಿಂದ almost 3 or 4 years back, we started something called direct payment. So not through the contractor, but directly debited to the account of the power karmikas. So adondu labor welfare ಅಥವಾ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರ ವೆಲ್ಫೇರ್ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಕೈಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. We are taking up number of measures, and Bangalore again is one of the leading cities in terms of Porakarmika welfare. So Porakarmika welfare ಸಲುವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೊಲೀಗ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸರ್ಫರಾಜ್ ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಬಹುಶಃ ಕೆಲವು ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಸಿಪೇಷನ್ ಐ ರಿಕಾಲ್ ಅಮಿತ್ರ ಪಟೇಲ್, she was very active at that point of time in 90s, and she led to something called solid waste management, a number of regulations from government of India and Karnataka, and thereafter lastly the formulation of solid waste management rules. Now solid waste management rules specify how the waste should be handled, how it should be processed, how it should be disposed, and all of it has been there. We are also enlightened by a number of judgments of the High Court and the National Green Tribunal. They have also been guiding us from time to time, and we have also been responsible to their suggestions and directions, etc. Also to the Pollution Control Board, the Central Pollution Control Board, and the State Pollution Control Board. All our plants are basically certified by them, and we are working in close association with them to make it happen. So on the issue of citizen participation, ನಾನು ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಹೇಳ ಬಯಸುತ್ತೇನೆ. Citizen participation ಸಲುವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಆಫೀಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ರಿಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಗುರುತು ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ. ಸಂಧ್ಯಾ ನಾರಾಯಣ್ ಅವರು ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಉಳಿದವರು ಕೂಡ ಬಹಳ ಜನರು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಝೋನಲ್ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ 8 ಝೋನ್ಸ್ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಹಾನಗರ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು 1.25 ಕೋಟಿಗಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಜನಸಂಖ್ಯೆ ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯದೊಳಗೆ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಇದೇ ಮಹಾನಗರದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಸೊ ಇಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಮಹಾನಗರದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದೊಂದೇ ಹೆಡ್ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಇಂದ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ವಲಯ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ 8 ವಲಯ ಕಚೇರಿಗಳನ್ನು ಏರ್ಪಾಡು ಮಾಡಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪೋಸಲ್ ಎಟ್ಸೆಟ್ರಾ ಅಂಡ್ ಬಿಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ ದಟ್ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಟ್ಸೆಟ್ರಾ ಗೆಟ್ಸ್ ಡನ್ ಅಟ್ ದ ಝೋನಲ್ ಆಫೀಸಸ್. ಝೋನಲ್ ಆಫೀಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಝೋನಲ್ ಕೋಆರ್ಡಿನೇಟರ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ಗುರುತು ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ. 27 ಡಿವಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಅವರ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. 27 ಡಿವಿಷನ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಆಫೀಸರ್ಸ್ ಗಳು AWಗಳು ಅವರು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ತದನಂತರ ವಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವ್ರು, ವಾರ್ಡ್ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ ಮತ್ತು ಲೇನ್ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಗುರುತು ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಲೇನ್ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್, ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್. ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ 750 ಮನೆಗಳು ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಒಂದೊಂದು ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಆಟೋ ಟಿಪ್ಪರ್ಸ್ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ. ಆಟೋ ಟಿಪ್ಪರ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಮನೆಯಿಂದ ಅದನ್ನು ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಇದು ಒಂದು ಸ್ಥೂಲವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ. ಬಹುಶಃ ಇವತ್ತು ಒಂದು ಸೀಮಿತವಾದ ಅವಧಿನಲ್ಲಿ we need to discuss, so I will stop it here. I'm sure
I'll come back to you, sir.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Mr. SAFRARAZ Khan, will you share your opening statement on this occasion, sir?
So good evening, respected commissioner sir, co-panelist Mr. SRINIVAS, and then all the people who are participating in this webinar. I would just like to take a few minutes to just take you back to the Bangalore city, which was about 5 years back when I was brought here to handle solid waste management. There was rampant burning of garbage everywhere and garbage dumps everywhere, and then absolutely no Porakarmikas. Porakarmikas used to be seen in tattered clothes. So when we came here, suddenly, to my luck, I have been blessed with good commissioners. Starting from Kumanak sir to GUPTA sir, they have been absolutely giving top priority to solid waste management. So that's the reason why we could bring in a change in the last 5 years. First and foremost thing was to bring in the microplan, was the brainchild of BBMP with the help of citizen volunteers. It started off from Yelahanka Eco Group, then to Bangalore Eco Group. And of course, Sanjay Narayan ma'am was with me from the day one when we started off together in this program, Mr. Ramakant. And Mr. Allen and a group of people who we started off. We made a action plan which brought in transparency to BBMP, to the collection transport system, and then it was a very systematic approach wherein the houses were, we did a time and motion study where how much of autos were required, what is the amount of compactors, what amount of Porakarmikas are required. We did an audit of all these things. And finally, when we took direct payment of Porakarmikas, we knew that there were only about 18,000, whereas the billing was going away 200 crores was a saving to BBMP with that action that we took. Then simultaneously the auto tippers, there were no asker, no teller. They were claiming to be 6,000 auto tippers, but when we used the RFID card, we found that there were only about 4,000 auto tippers which are actually working. So, and then similarly with the compactors, there were about 150 to 200. So straight away 400 crores saving was there for the solid waste management department. And then apart from that, translation in terms of cleanliness, visual cleanliness also. It took us a lot of challenge to bring in a lot of fights we had to do, a lot of, it was very difficult to get out of that system and bring in a new system, an accountable system, wherein everything is mapped. Now, everything in Bangalore is mapped today, starting from the block level collection of transportation of vehicles, to the compactors, to the amount of waste that is generated and the amount of waste is processed. So yesterday also somebody was asking me from the media, they said, the GPS is not working. I said, doesn't matter. There are 3 other ways of verifying. The amount of waste is collected, the amount of waste which is reaching the BBA, this one also. The technology, there may be some lacuna in the technology, it may fail in some parts, but we have other 2-3 measures which we try to, see that the entire waste is processed. And then we brought in citizens' participation. We encourage people to do in situ management of waste. And then our Honorable Chief Commissioner is very, very particular now that all the apartments, and shortly an order will be issued by Sir for in situ management of apartments. That is one of the biggest demand of the citizens, that they should be empowered to do their own composting in the apartments, so that they are zero waste campuses. And in this regard, Saahas, Hasrudala, they've been doing a great job. They've been supporting us in this venture. They are giving support to people. Wherever I've asked them for their help, they have come forward and helped us in formulating. So this we have, if you see Bangalore 5 years back to now, people will understand the change that has undergone. But certainly if you see Bangalore, you may still see that people compare it with Indore. Indore is a small city compared to Bangalore. Bangalore is a city-state. It's a country by itself. It's twice the size of population of Switzerland, country of Switzerland. And then also this city grew. It was on steroids. I'm born and brought up in Bangalore. I saw this green, beautiful city suddenly grew of the IT boom, the revenue layouts. I think 40 to 50% of our layouts are not planned. And then in each 30-40 site, there are about 10 to 12 kitchens, dwelling units, multiple dwelling units. Like they are like, small pencil-like buildings everywhere. So to reining all of them, to bring them to discipline, and then source segregation. I think it is on source segregation. Bangalore city is one of the cities, the metropolis cities, which is segregating 40% of its waste. About 1,200 tons of waste we are segregating and composting every day. Unlike other cities do the segregation at the plants, whereas we do source segregation. That itself is a great achievement. And then apart from that, coming to the Porakarmika welfare, we brought them to direct payment, and then we got them a beautiful uniform. Last time when we went to receive the award for such servition in Delhi, the first picture which was shown in front of the President of India was the picture of Bangalore Porakarmikas in uniform, holding hands and standing in front of Vidhan Sabha. That itself was a joy to us when we saw that. And then similarly, we are committed to welfare, and our commissioners give top priority to these people when they come. So more than their union leaders, we under the leadership of our commissioners, we work as union leaders for them, and we ensure that they get. If you see the pictures of Porakarmikas 5 years back, I have the documents of the pictures of Porakarmikas who were there 5 years back to what they are today. They wouldn't walk into BBMP office. Today, they will boldly come, sit in front of us, and have a cup of tea and chat with Commissioner Sir and then go. That is the kind of liberty that they have today. And then the uniform, their style of living has changed. Morning when I go for a run, I see them come mustering on scooters and bikes. So I see that's a happy change, that we have seen. Their quality life has improved, and Bangalore city also is improving. And definitely because of the challenges that city faces, I believe that enforcement, only 20% of it, 80% is the attitude change of the people. For example, we see that morning, we clear the black spot, we suddenly see that again somebody is coming and putting a black spot there, and nobody stops them. Unlike Indore, if nobody would dare put garbage in front of another citizen. If somebody puts a garbage in front of them, immediately he is brought to book by the citizens themselves. So then again, the new innovation was the marshals in Bangalore city. They are doing a phenomenal job of auditing as well as controlling and fining and enforcing segregation. So it is a long journey.
I want to get into that in a little more detail later, if you don't mind. If you could conclude, then I'll come back to you later.
Yeah. So with all this, I would definitely say that Bangalore has been one of the pioneers in whether citizen participation, source segregation, or in the municipal solid waste. That's what I'd like to say.
Thank you, sir. There's so much I want to ask you after the initial opening statements are done. Ratna, please go ahead. Ratna.
Namaskara ellargunu.
Namaskara, Ratna. ಎರಡು ನಿಮಿಷ
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ. ನಾವು ಈ ಪೌರಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರು ಸಂಘರ್ಷಣೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಸಕ್ರಿಕೇಶನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಲ್ಲ. ಸಕ್ರಿಕೇಶನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೂ ಇವಾಗ ಮನೆ ಹತ್ರ ಗಾಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ PKs ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ, ಲೋಡರ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ಲೋಡ್ಸ್ ಡ್ರೈವರ್ಸ್ ಇಬ್ರು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮನೆಯಿಂದ ಕಸ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ನಾವು ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋದು ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾಕೆ ನೀವು ಸುಮಾರು ನಾವು ಒಂದು 4 ವರ್ಷ 5 ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆನೆ ಇದು ಹಸಿ ಕಸ, ಇದು ಒಣ ಕಸ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಿರ್ಮತನೆ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದೀವಿ. ಆದ್ರೂ ಅವರು ಗಾಡಿಗಳು ಹೋಗಿ ಮನೆ ಹತ್ರ ನಿಲ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಅವರು ಸಗ್ರಿಗೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆ ನೀವು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಮತ್ತೆ BBMP ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರಿದ್ದೀರಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಮಾಡಿ, ನಾವು ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರು ಇದು ಕಾಸು ಕಟ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಲ್ಲ, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ BBMP ಇಂದ ಸಂಬಳ ಬರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ನೀವು ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ನಾವು ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರೇ ಇದು ಯಾವ ತರ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಅವ್ರ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಿರೋ ಕಿಟ್ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅದರಲ್ಲೇ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವರು ಬೇರ್ಪಡಿಸಿರಲ್ಲ. ಅದನ್ನ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರೇ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಂದು ಬೇರ್ಪಡಿಸ್ಬೇಕು. ಅವ್ರ ಮನೆಯವರು ಯಾಕೆ ಅವರು ಬೇರ್ಪಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ? ಸಕ್ರಿಕೇಶನ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ? ನಾವು ಇದು ಯಾಕೆ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ? ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೀವೇ ಇದು ಜನಗಳ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ನೀವೇ ಏನೊಂದು ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ ತಗೋಬೇಕು.
ಸರ್ಫರಾಜ್ ಖಾನ್ ಅವರು, ಗೌರವ್ ಗುಪ್ತಾ ಕಮಿಷನರ್ ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಪೌರಕಾರ್ಮಿಕ ಅವ್ರ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟೀಸ್, ಟಾಯ್ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? ಸೇಫ್ಟಿ ಎಕ್ವಿಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್,
ಅದು ನಮ್ಗೆ
ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್, ಸ್ಯಾಲರೀಸ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿ.
ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಸುಮಾರು 5 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದು ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ನಮಗ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ನಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾವ್ದೇ ಒಂದು ಸೇಫ್ಟಿ ಆದ ಸೌಲಭ್ಯಗಳು ಇಲ್ಲ. ಒಂದು ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ರೂಮ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಮತ್ತೆ ಒಂದು ನಾವು ಊಟ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಜಾಗ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳು ಒಂದು ಆಫೀಸ್ ತರ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳು ಸಿಗ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋಂಥ ಸೇಫ್ಟಿ ಕಿಟ್ಟು, ಮತ್ತೆ ಒಂದು ಬ್ಲೌಸು, ಮಾಸ್ಕ್, ಸ್ಯಾನಿಟೈಸರು, ಶಿವು, ಇದು ಯಾವ್ದೊಂದು ನ್ಯಾಯವಾಗಿ ಸೌಲಭ್ಯಗಳು ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸುಮಾರು ಒಂದು 2 ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆನೆ ಯೂನಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಕೊಟ್ರು. ಆ ಯೂನಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಶೂ ಕೊಡಕ್ ಬಂದ್ರು. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಏಕಾಏಕಂಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಒಂದೇ ತರಹದ ಶೂಗಳು ಕೊಟ್ರು. ಒಬ್ರಿಗೆ 5 ಸೈಜ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಒಬ್ರಿಗೆ 6 ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ರಿಗೆ 8 ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಾವು ವಾಪಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ರು. ಅದೇ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ತರದಾಗ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಸೌಲಭ್ಯಗಳು ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಕೆಲಸದಿಂದ ಬರೋವಾಗ ಮತ್ತೆ ಹೋಗೋವಾಗ ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳು ನಾವು ಮನೆಯಿಂದ ಯಾಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಾವು ಹೇಳಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಯಾವ ಟೈಮ್ ಯಾವಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಾನು ನಾವ್ ಹೇಳಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ರೂಮ್ ಬೇಕು. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಮಕ್ಳು ಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋಂಥ ಸೇಫ್ಟಿ ಕಿಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಕುಡಿಯೋ ನೀರು, ಟಾಯ್ಲೆಟ್, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಜಾಗೃತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಾವು ಸುಮಾರು ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ BBMPಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ ಇದೀವಿ. ಇವಾಗ ಕೆಲವು ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ರೋಡ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಕುತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಊಟ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಕೆಲವು ಜನ ರೈಲ್ ಗೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕುತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಊಟ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಎಲ್ಲೇ ಆಗ್ಲಿ ಊಟ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಸೌಲಭ್ಯಗಳು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಈ BBMPಯಲ್ಲಿ. ನಾವು ಸುಮಾರು ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಂತ ಇರೋದು ಇದೆ. ನಾವು
Welcome. Thank you, Ratna Avare. So I'll give you a summary of what Ratna said for those of you that don't follow. But let me invite Sandhya now. Sandhya, you have your 2 minutes of your opening statement, please.
Thank you, SRINIVAS. Thank you, Deccan Herald and Prajavani, for having this webinar and bringing again solid waste management. It's never enough. How much we speak about it is never enough. And even though you all have always been featuring these articles, and I'm glad that you keep bringing it into public focus, it's good to have a platform like this to actually focus on SWM with all kinds of issues being brought up. For us, the issue of SWM is really a little beyond segregation, collection, and processing. It's about, all of us have been touched now in the last 2 years with the problem of the pandemic and how much it affects us when people fall sick. And the problem of SWM really is about how to maintain that the inherent health of our populations, and how to protect the air and how to protect the water around us, and to prevent the pollution so that our families and our children grow up in safe environments. Not to mention that we are talking about also cleanliness and quality of life that comes with it. So for us, the question of solid waste management is really something which is very underlying in our daily lives. And it's important that every one of us, though we have here the BBMP chiefs sitting here, I think it goes a little beyond just making them answerable for what SWM is all about. It's about each one of us having to do those few things. How many of us carry our own bags, cloth bags? How many of us refuse plastic? How many of us refuse to, when we know that there is a plastic ban, how many of us are conscious and tell our vendors that we will not take stuff, vegetables or whatever in a plastic bag. So these are responsibilities that we have to do. Like Ratna is talking about the fact that even when there is a law in the city, why is it that when we know it, why is it many of us choose not to segregate our waste at homes? So every one of these problems cannot be with the BBMP. A lot of it is also to do with our lifestyles and the way we live our lives. So the work we do is really about building that consciousness to say that every one of us in our small ways have to ensure that we do our bit to solve this very large problem of sustainable solid waste management, but when broken down, can very easily be managed by each one of us in our homes or in our environments. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandhya. Thank you. I'll come back to you on why the segregation levels are not at a level that we should be proud of. I'm sure a lot of good things have happened, but long way to go. And like you pointed out, the biggest stakeholder in this is a citizen and not the BBMP. So how can that change? If we all can agree on a couple of those things by the end of this webinar, I would think it would be a huge success in the journey of solid waste management for Bengaluru. Wilma, your 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. And, so much has been said, to which I will try to add some of my observations. I think what Bangalore got it right quite a long while ago was to understand that it's not only about collection and transportation and dumping. Like many other cities continue to have that kind of a mindset. Bangalore very earlier on realized that collection, segregation, collection, and then processing was really the answer for better waste management systems. And that fits in very well to the current narrative of circular economy and resource recovery. So yes, we have got the basics right. Where we perhaps need to really work and we've kind of fallen short is enforcement of all of this, which already was in place. So when you look at the segregation numbers currently at 36%, with all the work that has been happening with the citizens and the BBMP, this is a number that we really need to, all of us collectively take responsibility for it. Also the fact that we do have a budget of 1,000 crores and that budget is put into place year on year. There is a kind of a question mark around accountability. So these are things that will give citizens confidence if there is the better understanding of how that money is being spent. Whilst we look at the BBMP as the custodian, as the guiding force for us to follow in terms of what needs to be done, we definitely need both the corporate sector. Bangalore is known to be the IT hub of India, along with citizens taking far more responsibility. If you've had a bulk waste generation rule for the last so many years, then we really need 40% of the waste not to be the domain of what the municipal corporation has to fully take responsibility for. There is enough of systems in place really for bulk generators to manage waste. We need accountability for, say, the composters that are put on site. Are they working, not working? And why do we have composters which really do not have the kind of output that is required? So technology is important, but the right technology, and this is where businesses, corporate sector need to understand that they have that responsibility. If they're selling a composter, if there is recycling as part of the domain of the private sector, where is the recycling for plastic? Where is the recycling for difficult waste streams? There needs to be answers from as much the other stakeholders in the system. Bangalore's had fantastic support from citizens, and that has been to a large extent also reflected from the reciprocity from the municipal corporation that has given space for dry waste collection centers, for processing, for decentralized to really become a way of life in terms of how we manage our waste. So decentralized systems in Bangalore is something which is unprecedented compared to any other city. But yes, there are gaps, and that's perhaps what we can discuss in the next few minutes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. That's a perfect segue to what I wanted to ask. We now begin the panel discussion, so to speak. I will be asking questions to some of the panelists explicitly, but others can feel free to jump in and respond if they want to add something to it. This decentralized waste management certainly has come a long way in Bengaluru. Compared to a few years ago. As a resident of the city for so many years, I can see that myself, and I can relate to what Mr. SAFRARAZ Khan was saying, how we used to perceive solid waste management. I would say it has gone through a dramatic change just in the last 4 to 5 years. There are people in the city that are eco warriors, garbage warriors. There are more WhatsApp groups discussing solid waste management, garbage in Bengaluru than politics, I would say. I would risk saying that, and that wouldn't be an exaggeration. That many citizens are involved. There are many apartment communities, residential communities that will not pick up garbage from homes if they're not segregated. Huge fights erupt over this. So there is quite some degree of awareness on this also. This morning, I was talking to someone from Hagadur ward in Mahadevpura and the SWM blocks of 750 homes that Mr. Gupta was talking about. The system seems to be working beautifully. There is a system of citizens participating along with the health inspectors, sanitary workers, auto tippers. Everybody knows the driver's number. Mr. Gupta was talking about saying good morning to the bus driver. Seems to be happening in Hagadur, sir. Already they seem to know the drivers of the auto and even the Porakarmikas, and they're having a good time with this. And yet, out of this, and I want this to be responded to by Mr. Khan and then Mr. Gupta. Out of this 1,000 crores of SWM budget, significant amount of money is still going towards the transport part of it. You talked about how when you did audit, you discovered that not that many number of vehicles are actually plying, and various GPS and other things have come in. Is it a plan or strategy of BBMP and all of you thinking eventually that you built some 184 driveway centers at this point of time, but is there going to be a situation where we are going to have a ward level biogas plant, for example, a ward level composting center? Can we think of a future where the garbage doesn't travel beyond the ward boundaries? Can we think of a situation where all the waste generated within a ward stays within a ward, gets collected, gets processed within the ward? Will that be an objective of BBMP? Is that something that you all are working on? And if so, if you could share more details about it. And if that's not the objective, but you are trying to work at a zonal level, like Mr. Gupta was saying, please tell us in which direction you're going. I would request Mr. SAFRARAZ Khan to go first and then Mr. GAURAV Gupta.
So basically, the strategy for Bangalore is ward level, then division level, zone level, and the city level. So the magnitude of municipal solid waste, like you said, it's more discussed than politics in Bangalore. It's not actually an exaggeration at all, because the amount of complaints we get from the communities of apartments on segregation itself is huge. Like, these are we try to solve this problem on a day-to-day basis. So looking at it, but it's easier said than done. Like, for example, in the ward level, we do not, the challenges is the places. We will not be getting places. Like, for example, there are restrictions to the amount of waste that could be processed in a ward level. For example, the city is very thickly populated. Maybe in the outskirts, it is feasible, but in a city like Bangalore, imagine an area like Shivajinagar, Majestic, these areas, it is impossible to have a processing plant. And then in my experience, any processing plant above 5 tons, people will definitely object to it. Not in my backyard syndrome is already there. So that is one thing. Second thing is that we are also looking at dealing at division level. We already have 5-ton processing plants already. Bangalore has already got them. And then we have recently approved, SR has approved a couple of biomass plants at the division level. And then we are having some at the zonal level, 50-ton plants. And then finally at the city level. So that is the future idea. And as I see, people have a lot of discussion, but I'm yet to see a perfect solid waste management processing plant. Other countries just burn, like China, Europe, they burn. Most of the countries burn their waste. All right. So biomethanization is a challenge for the kind of food or the kind of wet waste that we get. It is something which we are evolving. The perfect example would be my plants. 5 years back, they used to stink. Now, people are considerably got used to these plants. And then the odor and things like the management has improved over a period of time due to technology and things like that. So that's the way forward, I think.
So this odor and the smell that comes is the biggest reason for the not in my backyard. ನಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆ ಬೇಡ ಅಂತ HSR layout ನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಅಭಿಯಾನ ಇತ್ತು. Electronic city, I've noticed some citizens have opposed it and protested and all of that. Is that because of the gaps in the technology, sir, or is it because that we don't have sufficient funding to deploy the most advanced things, or do we need innovation in this? We have Indian Institute of Science here, we have great technology and scientific researchers right here in our city. Have we thinking about how to find a small a 60 by 40 site level composting centers that don't smell, that don't stink, that don't cause any inconvenience to anyone? Has there been any attempts in that direction?
There has been no dearth of technology or money. Okay, BBMP has been a pioneer in technology. You name it anywhere in the world. We have met consul generals from across the world. They have presented their technology, and we have TGC members who are they are experts and they are scientists. They are meeting on a regular basis and they are giving us this one. But like I said, Indian waste has got some challenges that we are facing, and then the system will evolve by itself. We are not what we were 3 years back. Hence, so we would like to look at some technologies which will be able to. A lot of presentations have happened, where an organic waste converter which could turn 5 tons of waste without powder is also up for some tests are going on. Once we get that technology right, like for example, I would like to tell you about one local scientist, Raja Vijay Kumar, has put up a leachate treatment plant that got the Swachh Bharat Award for one of the best technologies, wherein in a small room, about 50,000 liters to 1 lakh liters of leachate is treated every day. So the challenge is not only the smell, it is also the visual. Nobody wants to have a garbage plant. Nobody wants to have a bin in front of his house. That's the syndrome. That has to go.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gupta. So you are on mute.
Yeah. So I would like to echo what has been told. Bangalore requires, we celebrate COVID warriors, and likewise we need to celebrate actually the waste warriors. You may invent whatever term is what is required, but it is just like, you need to do it again and again, day-to-day basis, and there is no like one wave will come and another wave will go kind of thing. No, nothing like that. This has to be done on a perpetual basis. And so therefore we require resource persons, we require people who are experts, who have to be there at the decentralized composting plants. And very often what happens is that while the technology is there, money is there, the issue is also maybe they don't know how to use it, or maybe the waste that is coming is different from the kind of waste they are used to. So those issues are there. And while HSR layout, I have seen a fantastic place, demonstration center that we have made. I would say I would invite anybody in the city to come and see the kind of demonstration center that has been carved out about the decentralized composting in the HSR layout. Kalika Kendra, we call it Kalika Kendra. It's a learning center about how to do waste composting. So this has been taken up. Now, what we need to do, actually, there are two set of people. One is the people who know all of this, whatever we are talking about. And I know that SANDYA, WILMA, and all others, they are with us in this. I would say that there are some set of people who may be migrants, who may not know about what is to be done. Now, they may just throw the garbage away. Now, if you go to New York, if you go to US or any other developed country, there are very set rules about how the waste has to be put out, how the waste will be collected. And each one of us, when we go to US, we will do the same. But when it comes to Bangalore, it may happen that some of the people may not be able to do, and they just move into the apartments and they do not know. So what I'm saying is we require volunteers, we require neighborhood volunteers, lane volunteers, etc., to tell that, look here, this is the way it is done. It's just like this is the way the milk comes to our house. This is the way the newspaper comes to your house. These are the vendors. This is the way you can get into. So these are some of the local things that need to be done, and that's why we require citizen participation. And I recall another incident. I was going to a wastewater treatment plant in Singapore as a part of a study program, and I missed the bus in which the other participants went, and I took a taxi, and I was going there, and taxi driver asked me, where are you going? I said, look here, I'm going to a place called Tuas. Tuas is on the eastern Singapore, where they have the desalination plant. And the driver on the way said, he narrated me the entire story of how the Singapore is managing its water. It is so much drilled into the minds of the people, or it stays in the mind of the people, that they have 4 national taps. This is the kind of water that comes in. They have to use the rainwater. They have to use the Malaysian water. They have to use the wastewater recycling. They have to use the desalination water, and this is how they handle water. Now, how many of us know from where the water comes in the city? Some of us know, but some of us do not know where the water comes from. Where is it tapped? How is it brought? How it is filtered? How it is given? And where does the wastewater go? So what I'm saying is, I'm citing an example that we need to be conscious and aware and responsible citizen. For that, I would say Janaagraha, for example, or organizations like Saahas and a number of others, they have to work with the people to create change champions, to create awareness among the people and how to take it forward. We are working at how there can be decentralized processing plants. Now, decentralized processing plants can happen at the ward level, in the parks, etc. A number of them I have seen. I have also seen there are certain places where there have been objections by people also, saying that, look here, it doesn't work out. But I'm sure that if we all work together, it can happen in decentralized manner. Likewise, like we have the apartment complexes and the commercial complexes, in which there is a theory and philosophy of zero liquid discharge or zero discharge for wastewater. Likewise, you should have something called zero waste discharge, or zero waste coming out. You should be able to process it within and then send the useful things out only. So for that, we are working at it. We are working on a framework in which all the bulk producers will be required to set up their processing plants within their own places. And if that is done, I'm sure it will help a great deal. After all, ultimately, it's our city, and we all need to see what is done. I read a very beautiful book about how New York was handling waste 30 years back. And 30 years back, what they were doing is they were dumping it into the ocean. And progressively, they have become a little better. Even the sewage was and is being dumped into the ocean by most of these seaside cities. We don't have that kind of luxury. So we have gone into this kind of processing, sanitary landfill and others. But ideal would be if it can be segregated and recycled within the homes. If not homes, within the communities. If not communities, it can be ward or something like that, and going further. So we look forward to increased participation. I'm sure that Deccan Herald's initiative today will go a long way in creating this kind of consciousness.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. That's wonderful to hear BBMP's interest in decentralizing and with all the challenges that exist with that. Ratna, before I go to Ratna, let me say, summarize what she said earlier. So Ratna has acknowledged that in the last 5 years, the direct payments are happening for all the Porakarmikas. This is a very welcome change. It's a very, very big issue in our city earlier, and now it seems to be mostly resolved. Though Ratna mentioned that there are some issues here and there, but majority of the Porakarmikas are now getting direct payments on a timely manner. It's a very nice thing to hear. She talked about some of the safety equipment not reaching some of the Porakarmikas, the facilities for water, toilets, sanitizers, and it's also a bit of a sad news to hear that many Porakarmikas end up having their lunch or sitting on the roadside or by the railway line. So we have some ways to go on that. So that's what Ratna said earlier when she spoke. Ratna Re, sometimes COVID time nalli ಏನು ಆಗಿದೆ ಪೌರಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರು ಎದುರಿಸುವ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳೇನು, ನೀವು ಅವರನ್ನು ಹೇಗೆ ಜಯಿಸಿದ್ರಿ, ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು? ವಾಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ವಿ ಲರ್ನ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಟೈಮ್? ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಟೈಮ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ? ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ ಮಾತಾಡಿ.
ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಸಹ ಅವಾಗ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಓಡಾಡೋದು ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೇನು ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಮ 2 ಕಾಲೇ ಬಸ್ಸು, ಕಾರು, ಗಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲ. ಅವಾಗ ನಾವು ಸುಮಾರು 3-4 ಕಿಲೋಮೀಟರ್ ಅಷ್ಟು ದೂರ ನಡ್ಕೊಂಡೋಗಿ ಸಹ ನಾವು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಿ. ಅವಾಗ ಸಮೇತವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ನೀರು ಇಲ್ಲ, ಒಂದು ಊಟನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ವೆಹಿಕಲ್ ಚಾರ್ಜು ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ನಾವು ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಈ BBMP ಕಡೆಯಿಂದನೂ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲೂ ಸಹ ನಾವು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ. ದಾರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿದ್ದಿದ್ದಾಗಿದ್ದ ಮಾಸ್ಕ್ ಇದು ಮತ್ತೆ ಮನೆಗಳ ಕಸ ಇದು ಪಡುವಾಗ ಸುಮಾರು ನಮ್ಮ ಪೌರ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರು ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಟೈಮುನು ನಾವು ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಗೆದ್ದಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ನಾವು ಮೃತಪಟ್ಟ BBMP ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರು ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕ್ವಾರಂಟೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರು ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲೂ ನಾವು ಕ್ವಾರಂಟೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೂ ಸಹ ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಕ್ವಾರಂಟೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದು ನಾವು ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಅದ್ರಿಗೂನು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಸಂಬಳ ಸಮೇತವಾಗಿ ಹಾಕಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮೇತವಾಗಿ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲೇ ಮೃತಪಟ್ಟ ಸುಮಾರು ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮೃತಪಟ್ಟ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರಿಗೆ ತಲಾ 30 ಲಕ್ಷ ಪರಿಹಾರ ನೀಡ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಾವು BBMP ಕಡೆಗೆಯಿಂದ ಸುಮಾರು ಹಲವಾರು ಸಲ ನಾವು ಹೇಳಿದೀವಿ. ಆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಸಹ ನಾವು ಕಷ್ಟಪಟ್ಟು ನಾವು ಅಲ್ದಿರ ನಮ್ಮ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನಾವು ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು 4-4:15 ಸಹ ಮನೆ ಬಿಡಬೇಕು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ 6 ಗಂಟೆಗೆಲ್ಲ ಹಾಜರ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮುಗಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಡ್ಕೊಂಡೇ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು. ಆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೆಲ್ಸಕ್ಕೆ ಬರ್ತೀವಿ, ವಾಪಸ್ ಮನೆಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು. ನಾವು ವಾಪಸ್ ಮನೆಗೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವಯಸ್ಸಾಗಿರೋಂತಹ ನಮ್ಮ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿಗಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾವು ಬಂದು ಈ ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಯಾವ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ತರ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನಮಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಸಹ ನಾವು ಈ ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಈ BBMP ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ನಮ್ಗಾಗ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿಗಾಗ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಸೌಲಭ್ಯಗಳು ಸಮೇತವಾಗಿ ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಈ ಕೊಟ್ರು ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ವ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿನೇಸ್ ತಗೊಳ್ರಿ ಸರಿ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ನಾವು ನಮ್ಗೇನೋ ವ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿನೇಷನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಸರಿ ಆಯ್ತು, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಮ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿಗೆ ಯಾರು ಸುರಕ್ಷತೆ? BBMP ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಏನ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿಗೆ ಸುರಕ್ಷತೆ? ಒಂದು ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದಾಗ್ಲಿ, ಒಂದು ಇದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಲ್ಲಾಂದ್ರೆ ಅಮ್ಮ ನೀವು ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದೀರಾ, ನಿಮ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಸಮೇತವಾಗಿ ಕರೆಸಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಹೇಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಾವ್ ಇದ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ BBMP ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು ಸಮೇತವಾಗಿ ಬಂದು ನಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ದವ್ರೆ ಯಾರು ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಕುಡಿಯೋ ನೀರ್ ಸಮೇತವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಗೇಟ್ ಮುಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗಿ ನೀರ್ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು ಗೇಟೇ ನೀವು ಮುಟ್ಬೇಡ ಅಂದ್ರು. ಊಟ ನೀರು ಇಲ್ದಿರ ಬಂದು ಆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮೇತವಾಗಿ ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗೆದ್ದು ನಾವು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇದೇ ನಾವು ಮತ್ತೆ ಮುಂದುವರ್ಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಸಹ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿ ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮೃತಪಟ್ಟ ಮಹಿಳೆಯರಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಜೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಇದು ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಸಮೇತವಾಗಿ ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ನಿರ್ಧಾರನು ತಗೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ ಈ BBMP ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಪರಿಹಾರ ನೀಡ್ಬೇಕು ಮತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ.
I would like to react to this, Mr. Srinivas.
Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So I think she's talking in isolation anta kaansutte, because I will tell you very clearly, the welfare of Porakarmika was monitored by the Honorable High Court of Karnataka. All the Porakarmikas were given buses. All the SWM team, including the Chief Commissioner, sir, were working from morning 6 to late night. Buses were given. There's a record of all the buses being picked up. Food was given not only to the Porakarmikas, to all the migrants who came in. All the 600 mustering centers were turned into food courts where people had not one time, multiple number of times food were given. 100 rupees was given as compensation every month. I think let her deny that. 100 rupees was given into her account, in everybody's account. Walking doesn't arise at all. We had given last minute connectivity, buses, and 100 rupees to go back to their homes, including auto, a cycle or scooter or whatever they have. And then death compensation was immediately given, because on day-to-day basis, High Court was hearing this. The High Court judgments are there. I think all of you must have seen it. And then as regards quarantine, they were taken care of in BBMP hospitals and COVID care centers. Taken, in fact, in BIC center, one complete center was reserved for them, and then very, very good food was given to them. And then also, as is talking about not giving safety equipment, on the 14th of April, in front of Vidhan Sauda, all the safety gear, there are records, all the Porakarmikas through the local MLAs have distributed masks, gloves, with a BBMP emblem and the uniform and everything. I don't know what she's talking about. I was talking in isolation maybe. Then half a day leave. They only work for 1 hour. And first of all, their duty is not to lift waste. They're only there to sweep the streets. That's all. I don't know what she's talking about lifting the mask. That's not at all their job. So we have seen, I was on rounds. I have seen people having sanitary, sanitizer in their pockets. We made this one and gave. Britannia came. So many agencies came and we have distributed food kits to everybody at that particular period of time. I think she's in sync with reality, or maybe at that time she has not worked in BBMP or she was on leave. I don't know what she's trying to say. But I would definitely like to say, because this is on record, I'm not talking from on the BBMP point of view or anything like that, because it has been given, and the union leaders of BBMP would second my every word of what I'm saying. And then the death compensation, 1 day doesn't stay on anybody's table. Death compensation, and then to tell you there have been not more than 8 to 9 deaths, COVID-related deaths in BBMP, and what she's talking about, the number of deaths is certainly not true. And then we have the record of Porakarmikas who were infected. You will be surprised to say it's not more than 100 who are asymptomatic patients, and they've been taken care of. They've been paid for the days they have worked. This looks very, very, I think probably she's talking in isolation or she's not in touch with reality. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, sir. So there are 18,500 of them, and it's possible that, and also we had multiple waves. There was an initial lockdown, and then there's a second wave, and all of that. I would say that, yeah. So thank you for clarifying those things. I really appreciate that. We'll come to that later. Let me now go to Sandhya. Sandhya, you've been working with citizen groups and, trying to engage citizens more. And what is the current situation with respect to the citizen participation? We have ward committees. Even during the COVID, the ward committees have really come back to life. As somebody who tracks ward committees closely, I can see that COVID has really changed the way people are coming together in ward committees. They discovered PHCs, for example. They discovered their BBMP officials during the time. But we also have other programs like citizen participation programs, Suchi Mitras. Do you see that, these things need to converge, that ward committees should become the main focal points for citizen participation within the wards? Is that how we want to go? Or if there is some other model, what would that be?
They do converge. I think the way in which the citizen participation program has been created is that it is completely conscious of the fact that the ward committees are a constitutional requirement. And in fact, we worked for setting up the ward committees. But the role of the ward committees is slightly more executive in nature. And that of the citizen participation program is of the soldiers or the foot soldiers on the ground who are actually the eyes and ears of what is going on. And even a ward committee, if you have to track 30,000 houses, it's very hard. They may be insulated. There are too many issues to look at the ward level. So what happens typically is that the network that is created, what Chief Commissioner explained about the network being at a ward level, and then you have a block level, and then you have a lane level. It's merely to make sure there are several kinds of work that are needed. It's not enough just to be like a complaint redressal system where you talk back to the BBMP and report to them saying a vehicle came or did not come. The corrective action of why someone is segregating or why is it that the vehicle is not coming, and to do the problem solving at that level is also taken up by the citizen participation network. And most people who have engaged with the CPP have finally at some level or the other always converged. We've had a lot of our members also becoming ward committee members, and they are able to escalate the issues of, let's say, of land not being available or of funds not being available. So the issues that get taken up at the ward committee level is slightly different from what gets taken up at the citizen participation level. And I think both of them are required, and they work in tandem to solve the problem as a whole. In terms of the status of where we are with the CPP, we are happy that this whole program started in 2016. And it has been, really a battle to get acceptance from the authorities because there seems to be so much of an insecurity in terms from the political class. They don't like to see active citizens and volunteers on the ground. They feel insecure or threatened or I don't know what. So it has taken us a lot of time to engage with mayors after mayors and to make sure that the CPP program is actually recognized. If you look at the Swat Sarvekshan requirements, if you look at the IEC requirements, these are not something that a ward committee on its own can satisfy. It needs a large network of people, and CPP will really enable that to happen. And we have received recognition, not enough. It needs to be an institutionalized mechanism where it addresses the concerns that everybody has, that are these parallel lines, are they converging? And all that will happen if it gets addressed in a holistic way.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Wards in Bengaluru are really large, so ward committees can work at a certain level, but certainly below that. But I think stronger ties need to happen between the CPP and the existing eco warriors, green warriors, and the ward committees, and I think that will complete the picture really, really well. I know Chief Commissioner sir needs to leave for another meeting, sir. Before you leave, there is a lot of demand for me to ask you a couple of questions. I was going to come to you later, but let me just put it out there. 2 quick questions. You can give short answers. Modledagi, this year you allocated 60 lakhs to ward committees. This is fantastic. No other city in India is doing that. 60 lakhs given to ward committees for potholes, for footpaths, for borewells. Now, in the coming years, can we expect that similar allocations be done for solid waste management, perhaps to monitor the solid waste management work or local processing? That is one question. Second question is a very hot topic. I'm sure you've seen it already. It's come to you. Why collect user fees for solid waste management when the property tax is already including the SWM fees? Vidyut bill ge ek samparkisbek. Why should the SWM be connected to the electricity bill? This has been in the news. I've seen your responses already in a couple of times. For the sake of this audience, if you could answer these 2 questions. So the funds to the devolution to the ward committees is one, and then the user fees for SWM. If you could respond to this before you leave.
So devolution of funds to the ward committees, I'm sure that more will happen. What we did was a small step, and I'm sure that what we did was with the support and cooperation of all the volunteers and the organizations that are working. And any program is a success only when people work at it, and also experts and volunteers and citizen groups get associated with it. So happy to note that this initiative, which is one of the unparalleled ones in any of the cities in India, of giving funds directly to the wards, has been received well. And I'm sure that in the coming days, more funds would get to be given. What is also important is that to realize is that the wards in Bangalore are very, very big entities. Say, for example, in any of the part of the world, there would be 1 lakh would be a population of a city. Here it is a population of a ward. And so therefore, a ward itself is a big entity. It is an entity which has a high income neighborhood, it has low income neighborhood, it has people from all walks of life. It's not a homogeneous entity. And I would say whatever we are giving is basically to sustain the kind of movements that are there. I'm sure it will more will be required in the days to come.
Thank you.
As far as the second issue is concerned, the solid waste management fees and other issues, etc. Now, the BBMP basically has put something called SWM cess. The SWM cess collects only a very small part, which hardly covers less than 5% of the amount being spent on waste. So I would say that it is a capital expenses towards the waste infrastructure and such other issues. And for the recurring expenses, we have 18,000, close to 18,000 Porakarmikas. For the salaries alone, we would have to give almost 30 to 40 crores a month. And then we have the transportation, and transportation for the auto tippers, close to almost 4,000 auto tippers, and also the compactors, etc. So, and with the lead time, etc., how much they can be deployed, how they effectively can be deployed, etc. So there is recurring expenses, which is substantial. Now, the solid waste management rules and other framework as enunciated by the government of Karnataka provide for a waste management fees. Now, waste management fees, how much it should be collected, the manner in which it has to be collected, etc., is a matter to be decided by every city. And there has been a lot of toying around with it. The council, for example, has toyed around with it, and we are also in the process of deliberation. And final word is not out, so I will not be able to say anything. Yes, any kind of additional burden on the citizens is undesirable. We should not put it. But the issue is that BBMP has to manage its finances. I would only say that we have to learn from cities worldwide. Our sources of revenue, and Janaagraha, for example, has been doing a phenomenal job in understanding the municipal finances, city finances, etc. So our source of revenues has primarily been property tax linked, which is once a year. We do not have any kind of system by which there is some recurring kind of income. To cite an example, if you are eating in New York restaurant, in that case, you will be able to get a fraction of what you pay in the restaurant, which will accrue to the city government. Same thing happens, say, for example, in China, or even if you are investing something, a certain fraction of the investment or the turnover of the companies will accrue to the city government. Now, these are all ways by which you are having recurring income, which is indirect income to the state, to the city. Now, we need to work at it. I have been talking also at the national level, and I'm sure there's a debate at the national level as to how the municipal finances can be more secure. Not to say that we should not have transparency, not to say that we should not have effective and efficient means of use, but just to share with all of you, if you just Google and find out the size of New York City budget, I do not know how many know about it, but it is $95 billion. And what we have would be a small fraction of it. Now, I'm not saying that we can become New York, but I would only say that New York is half the population of Bangalore. So Bangalore is a big city, and we need to have additional sources of revenues so as to cover the kind of multifarious responsibilities. I would not like to impose any kind of burden on the people, but there has to be a healthy debate as to how it should be done. It is in all competence, the government and Government of India, the state government and the Council of BBMP have taken decisions in the past. And we are still playing with what is possible to be done.
Thank you, sir. That's so heartening to hear that you see that the city finances need to be strengthened. And in fact, most of the taxes that we all pay end up being in the union and state government and do not come back into the city government, unlike other countries. And a share of GST is a fair ask for Bengaluru. And under your leadership and citizens' public demand, hopefully we will see that kind of thing happening soon, because as citizens, we all pay taxes every single day. Thank you so much, Mr. Gupta, for giving us your time and sharing your views. We really appreciate your time here this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Wilma, let me come to you. This term zero waste. See, zero waste is something like, is it, I've been hearing it ever since I've heard about solid waste management, right? I worked a lot with Ramakant sir very early on, and he used to talk about that. And then Sandhya keeps talking about it. Many people talk about we are zero waste apartment, we are zero waste this, that. Is it really something that is going beyond sloganeering to actual reality? Are there any examples in India, in our country, where there is a city or a town that has achieved zero waste? If not, why not? And what is the way in which Bengaluru can get? Is it still a goal that you're working towards?
Well, our organization is called Saahas Zero Waste, and this is something that we definitely believe in, because take a look, 60% of our waste is organic. Yeah, this is the goodness that nature has given to us so that we can put it back. We can get food cooked. We can get, through biogas systems, you can cook your food from the 60% of organic waste that we generate. Yeah, and this also includes all the beautiful leaves that Bangalore generates, its tree cover, etc. All of that adds to this wonderful resource. So 100% of our 60% of organic waste we can convert into great resources. And then you have the 33% or the 30% of paper, plastic, metal, glass. And all of it, if you include co-processing of the plastic waste, which is our non-recyclable plastic waste. Now, all of that is a resource which can be recovered. Again, 100%. Now, this is where we have to realize that in order to recover all these resources, there is an intense operational exercise that has to be done. There are about 10 different types of plastic. All of that plastic goes to different kind of recyclers. There are 5 different types of paper. All that goes to different types of recyclers. But all of that dry waste can be actually recovered in various different forms. So really you have 90% plus of waste, which has, if we manage the operations properly, and we have enough of recycling taking place, resource recovery of all of this materials is possible. And then, of course, you have the 7% of domestic hazardous waste, the SANI waste, which is there, which, has problems. But sanitary waste also now you can look at proper incineration. And this is also where we need to talk to the manufacturers and bring SANI waste also under EPR so that there are better resource recovery systems. So I am saying that it is possible for us up to 90% to really manage our waste. And then the 10% of waste can be improved upon in terms of a landfill. That is the quantities of waste that could perhaps go to a waste to energy, a very small part of the waste that needs to be managed in this way. So technically it's fully possible. In reality is also fully possible. But for that, citizens, corporate sector, as well as the urban local bodies have to really work together.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Wilma. There are so many questions coming in and clock is ticking. So I'm under intense pressure, but it is only fair that we let Ratna respond to Mr. Sarfaraz Khan's response to her intervention. So Ratna, sir ಹೇಳಿದಾಗ, so you must have got the information by now. In the interest of time, ಹೇಳಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, but ನೀವೇನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ?
ನಾನು ಹೇಳೋ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಸರಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಮೇಲ್ಪಟ್ಟ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ನಾವು ಒಪ್ಕೊಂತೀವಿ. ಸುಮಾರು ವಾರ್ಡ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಸುಮಾರು ವಾರ್ಡ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ಅವರೇ ತನಿಖೆ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ನಾವ್ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ನಾವೇನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಈ ಮೇಲ್ಪಟ್ಟ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು ನಾವು ಮೃತಪಟ್ಟರಲ್ಲ, ಅವರು ಯಾರೊಬ್ರಿಗೆ ಅವರು ಪರಿಹಾರ ನೀಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾವ್ ಏನೊಂದು ಬೇಕಂದ್ರು ಈ ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರಿಗೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೈಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಸ್ ಹಾಕಿದೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಘಟನೆ. ನಾವ್ ಏನೊಂದು ಪಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕಂದ್ರು ನಾವು ಹೋರಾಟ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ನಾವು ಪಡ್ಕೊಂತ ಇದೀವಿ. ಇವಾಗ ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೂ ಹೈಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಮೂಲದಿಂದಾನೆ ಇವಾಗ ಬೀದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದ್ ನೀರ್ ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೂ ಹೋರಾಟ ಮಾಡಿ ಪಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಹೋರಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಏನಾದ್ರು ಒಂದು ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಪಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತೀರ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋರಿಗೆ ಈ BBMP ಮೇಲ್ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು ಯಾರೊಬ್ರಿಗೆ ನಷ್ಟ ಪರಿಹಾರ ನೀಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
Thank you. I think, sir, we can probably leave it at that. And, I think there is obviously in such a large city with so many employees, and there can be some things that will probably brought into your notice. So I'm sure Ratna avare ನೀವು ಭೇಟಿ ಮಾಡಿ sir ಜೊತೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, discuss ಮಾಡಿ. Sir, Mr. Khan, there's a question from Mr. Ramakant sir, who I'm sure you know quite well for all his work that he's been doing. The question is about the landfills that BBMP have stopped using. We had the Mawalipura, we had the Mandur, and now, thankfully, after a long time, those things have been closed. But what is being done to rehabilitate and, clean up those places so the people there no longer suffer? BBMP has made commitments to that extent. Is that something that you're working on? And in the same vein, are you going to stop creating new landfills going forward because dumping Bengaluru's waste outside Bengaluru is no longer seen as a viable option. So if you could talk about the closed landfills as well as any future direction towards landfills.
Now, as regards Bellarli and Midganhalli, one of the landfills is closed. Bellarli is closed now. So we have started the bioremediation there. We are working on that. And then as regards Mandur, we already have called tenders in the final stages of cleaning it up. The challenges we face is that there are multiple agencies involved. Every time a BBMP calls tenders, there are 4 or 5 interested parties. The one fellow doesn't get it, the other 4 go to the court, and this fellow gets it. So this is going on for the last 5 years. So we have now requested the government to create the tender document so that they give us the document based on which we call for tender. That is one of our challenges, where we get delayed. I think citizen volunteers also had told the High Court that they should protect us and give protection to the officers who are getting this kind of work. Getting this kind of work done. Secondly, BBMP's policy is not, I think I have repeatedly told Mr. Ramakant that it is not our policy, but what options do we have? This is my question. What options do we have? See, like I said, do we need to people, if you don't shift the garbage, people start burning the garbage every now and then. But we have been doing it, and my BBMP's policy is not another 1 or 2 years from now, we'll have 0 landfills. In fact, yesterday I visited a landfill at Ullalli, which is going to be landfill for inerts. So that is permitted by law. Sanitary landfill. We are processing the waste and we are doing it. We are doing it. It's a challenge. There are just a couple of people here, 5-6 people who are working on it, because ultimately we are the jockeys on the road who are fighting it out every day. Suggestions, you can have hundreds of suggestions. Implementation is a very difficult task. We are doing it. We face a lot of problems with the local citizens, and you yourself know that how difficult it is to get people segregated there. For example, I'll tell you, in a neighborhood, I was called by one of the apartment owners. I said, "You please segregate and you compost your own waste." One lady comes to me and said, "Mr. Khan, somehow she must have done it wrongly. She saw some insects in the compost, and she said, you please take your waste. I'm not bothered about your composting and things like that. I'll pay you whatever money you want. You take the waste and get away from here." This is the response. See, what happens is, it is very romantic to say composting your waste, hage madi, hige madi, ellanu madake sadhyate plant alli yaar implement ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಯಾರು ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಕಷ್ಟ. We are doing it. It is not that I am myself, the entire team of SWM and BBMP is against landfill. We would like to make it history very soon.
That's a wonderful thing to hear. So your entire BBMP is against the landfills. I think Deccan Herald and Prajavani should use that quote and hold you to it. And I think we should be a role model for the rest of the country. And we are already on the way. And I've been to Mandur. I've seen what's going on there. So this is music to my ears, what you're saying. We are running out of time, but I've already brought up some questions that were asked by the audience in the Q&A section. Katyayani ma'am, would you like to ask your question live? I know I can read it, but if you are here, you could also turn on your mic and ask the question.
Yeah, thank you. I have several questions actually.
Ma'am, keep it short and most important ones so that we can give chance to 2 more questions.
See,
you have 6 minutes left.
ALAVILLI has a model where the municipality is subsidizing the citizens to have their own composting or biomethanation. So they are giving 90% subsidy. So without subsidy, you are asking people to do it themselves. How many can do it? Maybe just a few elite people can do, but what about the common people? So municipality, instead of spending money on transportation, should use the same money to subsidize people to get that biomethanation equipment into their house. And I have already put in the question answer box the infrastructure that BBMP has for the push cart or for the tempo is totally against the rules. It is allowing the waste pickers to handle the garbage by hand, which is totally against the rules. You don't have the infrastructure to handle the garbage hygienically, and you are not even copying the indoor model or any other model. And this is going on since 12 years, though High Court ordered that Garbage should not be visible to the public. Garbage should not be exposed to the environment or be seen on the ground. Where is your infrastructure managing that? And then a High Court order is there to set up 198 local processing centers, and Indore has, I think, set up more than 1,000 biomethanation plants. So I don't see why our CA sites and all should not be acquired and this local processing started. Then the workers' welfare. It's not just enough to give them the money by through their bank account. What about the entire facilities that they're supposed to get through the Contract Labor Act, the restroom, the toilet, and all those things, and the institutional monitoring. Why,
ma'am? Yes, ma'am. I think we understood, ma'am. I will
just one more point.
Yes.
The infrastructure you require is also the secondary waste collection centers, which is the only way you can reduce the black spots. That also you have not implemented. And
I request the panelists to make notes on these things, whichever they want to respond, because I'm going to ask 2 or 3 more citizens to bring their questions, and then we can respond and close the evening. Ramakant sir, you're still here. Would you like to ask your question? Mr. Ramakant, Amele Prakash DR, Amele Valli Srinivasan, Bharati Prabhu. I'm reading out some names. If you are here, please unmute your mic and ask your questions. Ramakant sir.
Yeah. The thing is that giving subsidy, as Katyayani Tamraj, you can always compensate with the transport money which we are spending. And we save pollution also, and also traffic. So many are exposed, this one will be there. So it is better, they should have a policy of subsidizing this biogas plant, individual biogas plants, and also individual composter. Composter doesn't cost much. At least there something could be done. We should be encouraging that, so that every house, as far as possible, will have the processing themselves. So we save money on transportation. Same case with dry leaves also. We have got so many places now. I have been suggesting that dry leaves should be kept in the park by the tank or something, and it could be composted. Now we are just sending it out to the different plants and all that, costing a lot of money. So all this could be saved. Then the pollution also air pollution will be there. All that can be done. And about the legacy waste, you have already asked the question, and that I need not repeat again. Thanks for giving me a chance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that question. I'll get the response for you. I now invite Valli Srinivasan, Amele, Dr. Keshav Kumar, Bharati Prabhu, and Christopher Cruz. These are the next 4. Request you to keep it really short, 30 seconds, please. Valli. Okay, Valli doesn't seem to be with us. Bharati Prabhu, Dr. Keshav Kumar.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Valli.
Hello.
We can hear you. Please go ahead. Keep it very short.
Yes, I just wanted to say that Madam was saying that, PKs are not given gloves and all that. No, now when I have gone on supervision in the roads, I have noticed many PKs are not wearing the masks or the gloves which are given to them. So I would request the PK union leaders to educate the PKs in the use of all these things. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Keshav Kumar, please. Ratna, last question, Parvagi, you answer Madi Amele. Mr. Dr. Keshav Kumar, sir, you're here? Okay, Christopher Cruz. Christopher, you here? Please go ahead. You need to unmute. Okay, Sivaraman, Hariharan. Sivaraman, you're still here?
Yeah, I am here.
Go ahead, Sivaraman. Make it
So there
brief,
is a very less confidence that whatever government does, they want to do properly and not in my backyard. Why not they arrange a picnic to go to all those fight and processing which I have never seen. In fact, I was actually pressurizing this ITC guy who are doing dry waste processing in my ward, Vijayapura. It has never happened. Being a CPP ward coordinator for my ward for almost 5 months, that has still not happened. So are they doing it correctly? Is there any proper plan? Are they doing correctly? If it is correct, no one will object if it is in their own backyard. I think that is only question. Many of them I already posted, which is a repeat which is already covered. So we need to know what exactly they are doing.
I understood. I'll ask Mr. Khan to respond to that. Last but not least, Christopher. Christopher, can you hear us? Please turn on your mic.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead, Christopher. Keep it short.
I represent the Northeast Resident Association and Kalyanagar Resident Association. My question to BBMP is, they have successfully demolished a fantastic working model of solid waste management in Kalyanagar, which run for more than 20 plus years for their own vested interest. It could have been a very good foundation for BBMP to work on and then replicate it for the rest of Bangalore. We are looking at the Chief Commissioner talking about managing waste at the ward level. This was functioning very, very well. Technology from Norway was there, and our BBMP people have seen it. Why did they demolish it? Why did they give us a supporting hand? And why was it not replicated? And why are you starting from the scratch again? We are not in New York. We are not in Singapore. For us to talk about Melbourne, Singapore, and all those things.
Can you talk about what changed? Because you're making some big allegations. So what happened? What changed? What was working and what changed? So that way we can ask BBMP to respond.
Mr. SAFRARAZ Khan knows this very well. They literally starved the solid waste, the waste management committee of paying them salaries for months and months together. They didn't give us a helping hand. They systematically decimated and destroyed it.
So you're using big words. I'll ask Mr. Khan to respond to that. And thank you very much, everyone, for your patience. Before I give the last word to Mr. SAFRARAZ Khan, I would like Ratna to respond to what Valli has said. Valli avar heltare, educate ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ PK ಪೌರಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರಿಗೆ ಸೇಫ್ಟಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಆ ಸಂಘಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪೌರಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರ ಸಂಘ ಪದಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳ ನೀವು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ I'll request Sandhya and WILMA to come in if they want to add any points to that. And finally, I will go to Mr. SAFRARAZ Khan to respond to some of the things that were addressed to BBMP. Ratna avare?
ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್.
ವಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ನೀವು ಎಡ್ಯುಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ?
ಬ್ಲೌಸ್ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿರೋದು ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ಸರ್ ನಾವ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಹಾಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ? ಅದು ದಪ್ಪ ದಪ್ಪ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಬಟ್ಟೆ, ಅದು ನಾವ್ ಹಾಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಪರಕೆ ಹಿಡ್ಕೊಳಕ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರೋ ಬ್ಲೌಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಆರೋಗ್ಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಮಗೂ ಕಾಳಜಿ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ವಾ? ನಮ್ ಪ್ರಾಣದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಮ್ಗೂ ಭಯ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪನಾದ್ರೂ. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಅವ್ರು ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರೋದು ಬ್ಲೌಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ನಾವ್ ಹಾಕೊಳಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟನೇ, ನಾವ್ ಹಾಕೊಂತೀವಿ, ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಿಲ್ಲ. ಬರೀ ಬಗ್ಗುಡ್ಸೋ ಪರ್ಕೆದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಕೋಲಾದ್ರೂ ಆದ್ರೆ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ಕೋಬಹುದು, ಗ್ರಿಪ್ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದು ದಪ್ಪ ದಪ್ಪ ಬ್ಲೌಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ಬಗ್ಗು ಗುಡ್ಸೋ ಪರ್ಕೆದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಗುಡ್ಸಕ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಮ ಆರೋಗ್ಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಮ್ಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅವರು ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರೋದು ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ನಾವ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ?
Okay, got it. We'll bring that in. I want to also remind all of the audience and people that are joining, and we have many more joining on Facebook and other platforms watching this live and posing many questions. I want to say on behalf of the organizers, that is the Deccan Herald and Prajavani, all the questions and comments made by the citizens are being captured, and we'll make our best attempt to get the responses to all of them on behalf of the organizers of this event. We know that due to shortage of time, we are not able to bring up many more questions. This is a big topic. 1.5 hours is still not enough with such a topic that we are discussing today. I'll now go to Sandhya. Would you like to respond to any of the points that raised by the people that asked questions? If not, I'll go to Mr. SAFRARAZ Khan.
Yeah, I'd like to take up the point that, one of the comments that came was that composting needs subsidy and otherwise it becomes an elite activity. I completely disagree with that. If you look at the way composting has been carried out forever, it has always been in our backyards with the least amount of infrastructure. It again does not need, the need to always have to place the responsibility on the BBMP to manage our waste is not acceptable. If you generate waste, you have to make sure that you are, we buy 100 things. We live our lives in so many ways. If we generate waste, we should be able to, all it takes is a DIY, do it yourself, take a pin bucket, make a few holes and start composting. It's as simple as that. It does not need an elaborate state subsidy to get us to compost our own waste. I also on the Kalyan Nagar model, I do think that they have, it's been a bit of a rash decision to actually have shut down that unit. It has been a model that has been showcased in Bangalore for a very, very long time. And effort should have been taken to kind of improve, if indeed that was the case, to improve the composting requirement, because now there are so many possible solutions that were there. And I would urge the BBMP at the earliest to kind of take that back again and bring the glory back of the Kalyan Nagar model. It definitely is a model that is worth upholding and worth showcasing. Same goes for the shows model, which was in Sanjay Nagar. So the rise and shows have been Bangalore's pride for, I think, more than 30 odd years, and definitely not something that we should shut down.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sandhya. We are 7 minutes over the allotted time, but the BBMP Special Commissioner, Mr. SAFRARAZ Khan, is here. Sir, you heard many questions. Some of them you might choose to respond to now. Later, you can respond to others. I know there are too many on your plate, but please do summarize your responses to some of the things raised in the last few minutes. Sir.
Yeah. So coming to Katyani ma'am's request of LP model, I would like to just educate everybody. Alleppey is different, Indore is different, Bangalore is different, citizens are different, habits are different, the challenges are different. Why do we compare Indore? Indore consultants were here and they were so happy with what Bangalore was doing. We do is a sustainable model. The challenges are different. It's a different terrain. We are walking on a different terrain. Don't apply the same yardstick. We did do that. We called the Indore consultants. We found that it is not a workable model. They in fact found it that we are doing better than what Indore is doing. For a small city, it is very easy. Alleppey, yes, Alleppey is a small city. And talking about subsidies, Sandhya ma'am put it very, very correctly. When we can spend so much of money, can't we spend 200-300 rupees to compost your own waste? Again, attitude change of the people. I may not want to compost my waste. Like I said, that one lady who was there, she clearly told me that was a message. And there was another person I met, I had gone for some inspection. He was living in a single bedroom apartment. He said, how do you expect me to keep a bin here? So there are so many challenges. It is not that we live in bungalows here. We live in different kind of apartments. These are the challenges. So we can't apply one route to everybody. So this is one of the things that I would like to bring to your notice. And then coming back to the Kalyan Nagar model, it's kind of an allegation because probably they do not know the fact. I think Christopher doesn't know the facts of what has happened. I have myself visited Kalyan Nagar. I don't disagree with this one that it was a great model, but there was a big protest from some of the residents there that the Porakarmikas are not being treated well. Cases have been filed against the Kalyan Nagar Association in the Safai Karmachari Commission. Myself and my officers have attended more than half a dozen times, and then there were allegations of misbehaving with the Porakarmikas, and those Porakarmikas is to come and sit, eat, sleep in my office till you get us out of that association. We are not going to work there. So who's going to answer for this? Number 3, I'm an officer, I'm an advocate. They come to me, I have to help them out. Third thing is that they also, I don't disagree that they're doing a good job. And then there are issues of transparency. I can't be giving them directly money. It involves few lakhs of rupees. There's a tender procedure. We have to follow a tender procedure. We have to take it up in tender. I said, we will call the tender, you participate. They said, no, we will not participate in tender. You give directly to us. Then I told them, I heard them, the last final orders I passed, told them that, you need autos, you need men, we will pay them, we will give you the autos. You want to do your work, you do it. What is the challenge there? You have the waste will come to you. They will collect the same thing. They'll work under you. I said they work under the Resident Welfare Association. You want 10 autos, I'll give you 10 autos. You want 12 autos, I'll give you 12 autos. But you please don't handle, because there is an allegation of you misbehaving with the Porakarmika. There's a case filed in the Safai Karmachari Commission, and they don't go there. I go and stand there in front of the Safai Karmachari Commission and face action whatever they pass there.
Lot of water under the bridge. I can see that this story has a long history to it, and I'm sure there will be an amicable resolution. And when there is a good model, and that's something that we all are proud of, we want to see how that can be replicated, and the issues that come along the way can be resolved in due course of time. I thank you all for being here. I thank all the citizens for taking your time on a Friday afternoon to join this conversation. The passion Bengaluru has for waste management is impeccable, and it's like any other civic thing. Bengaluru also loves to talk about the waste that we all generate. But I think the one clear message that if we can send out from this webinar is that as much as the BBMP is responsible for the collection and the processing of the waste, citizens are equally, if not more, responsible for segregation and even processing at their own level to the extent that is possible. So the amount of garbage that leaves the house or leaves the residential community is to the absolute minimal. So therefore, we do not end up having any large garbage that needs to be processed or dumped in a landfill site. On behalf of Deccan Herald and Prajavani, I thank all our esteemed panelists. BBMP Chief Commissioner Mr. GAURAV Gupta was here. Mr. SAFRARAZ Khan, thank you so much, sir, for your patience and for your answering all the questions that were shot at you, left, right, and center. It has been wonderful hearing you and knowing about the vision of BBMP and where we are standing. And I think the big line that will stay with me is that BBMP does not like landfills. I think that should be our motto. Thank you, Sandhya, for working on SWMRT for so long and continuing your crusade and trying to bring awareness in citizens. Thank you, WILMA, for what all you do with zero waste and promoting that. And RATNA, thank you so much. Tumba dhanyavadagalu. Neevu nam jote ivaga matadidira. So very happy, and so many people are glad to hear your voice on this forum. Munde agli, we all have to go forward in this, and we hope that this event will help us take the solid waste management in BBMP to the next level in the coming years. Thank you very much. Also, big thanks to all the wonderful team at Deccan Herald, Prajavani, the video team and the event team, and my own colleague Manjunatha that is sitting with me today helping me out with this event. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.